everyone. Welcome to the first show of the Leadership Blend here on IBNX Radio, airing on every Monday from 12 to 2. I am your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and I'm just excited to be here. So I have some co-guests with me today who you're probably going to be hearing their voices a lot on the show, so I'm going to have them introduce themselves as well.
All right, man. My name is Christopher Marshall. I grew up in Mississippi. Oh, yeah. Country boy.
It's too easy.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to, it's too easy. I'm not even going to take a jab at it. Too easy.
Yeah, but I mean, I did a little bit of time in the military. My parole date was in 2014. I got out. And
there's those background checks I should have done. Yeah, so you shot yourself in the foot, but it's fine.
Yeah. But I lived in Florida for a little bit, and then I moved up here to ATL, man, and I'm really happy to be on this show.
All right.
Okay, well, it's the one and only Miss Terry Michelle. I am an Atlanta native. I am born and raised here. And
what part?
East Atlanta.
Okay, people say that. I'm not from Georgia.
Okay.
So people love to say that, like, oh, well, I'm from North Georgia, I'm from West Georgia. You got to explain this to me. So what is East Georgia?
So East Atlanta is like Decatur.
Okay, does Decatur include like College Parking Lot? Is that the same area?
Okay, no. Let's be more specific.
Yeah, you have to really break it down.
Break
it down. So you should never opened it, because now that you're a native, which is rare, you can answer these questions for me today.
Okay, so I am more so, I guess, Gresham Road, Boulder Crest, like that side of the neck of the woods. Y'all probably want to know, though. I don't expect y'all to know.
Give me counties. Like, you have to give me
DeKalb County. How about DeKalb County?
That's one.
Okay, yeah.
Talking about where they had the water issue?
Hold up.
I'm just messing with you.
Hold up. But
all right,
DeKalb
so
County. You got Fulton County. You got Gwinnett. It's too many counties in Atlanta for
you
me to
from
be
here? This is the best you got?
See, I've been in Savannah for 5 years now, so
okay, well then that counts.
Yeah,
Right,
so what? You lost your Atlanta card?
Yeah, I think. Well, no,
Okay.
I don't think I
wow.
lost it. No. Hold up.
Wow.
You mentioned Savannah now.
I'm just saying, I feel like my adult years was there, So I grew up
okay.
there, so
All
I'm
right.
really like,
Okay.
I'm in the water.
You still got credibility.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Carry on.
Thank you.
Oh, and tell them what happened for you last weekend.
Oh, and I am recently graduated from Savannah State.
Hey.
So I am an SSU alumni now.
Congratulations.
You guys, I have on my pen, my little alumni pen.
HBCU.
Yeah, in the building.
Terry's a pretty girl on the show. She's been deemed a pretty girl. So that's
Yeah, they think I'm just a pretty girl, but a lot of people think that about me. They think just, oh, she's just pretty. But I'm here to show y'all that it's more to me than just being a pretty face. Okay. So y'all watch out, because I'm on the show with all guys today. So, well, all
I was about to say the
She
team
raised
is
my
pretty much all
eyebrows.
guys. So moving along.
Yes, I'm Chris Wyatt, and it's two Chris's on the show, so I'm going to be called Wyatt during the show. And I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a native of Philadelphia. Transplant to Atlanta, loving it, meeting all these great people of Atlanta, and with the great history of Atlanta, I'm just happy to be here. I'm a writer also for Upscale Magazine and some other publications also that I freelance for. And I used to be a gymnast in college, so I was a three-time All-American in gymnastics. And I won the whole thing in I'm not going to say.
But you might as well, because eventually it's going to come up.
Oh,
So you
well,
might
oh,
as well
yeah,
say,
I'm
'cause
gonna
it's going to
bring it
come
out
up
there.
eventually.
But I did it. You YouTube it, you'll see that I was the national tumbling champion from Temple University in Philadelphia. And so I have a background in sports, high-level sports. So I'm happy to be on the show with this great team.
But no
Okay.
Olympics.
No, and I have a story about that. You'll hear about that.
Chris, you said tumbling?
Tumbling.
Okay, so I was a cheerleader, so I can tumble too.
You
Here
do
we
realize
go.
that's stereotypical,
Okay.
right? Because you're a pretty girl. So
That's what
I
I was
didn't want to
gonna say.
assume
Oh my God.
that you're a cheerleader,
So-
but since you
Was
did
that before you got your nails
We're going
done?
to have a cartwheel round off
Yeah, you might beat me, but
contest.
yeah, definitely.
Got it.
I would pay good money
Okay.
and sell tickets.
Yeah.
So, and sell tickets. I'm just putting it out there.
I'm
I
part of
will
the
sell
show,
tickets.
so I'm getting in free.
Okay, well, Chris, can you tumble?
Man,
I
I think
would
we
pay
all should
good
do
money.
it. No, we
The
all should
devil
do
is-
it. Because I'm paying good money for you, Ricardo. I would love to see you do a cartwheel.
I tried to do a cartwheel.
You'll be waiting because I can't even do it without. Apparently, you're supposed to keep your legs straight so you can go over. Yeah, mine always bend.
Ricardo's going to do the virtual cartwheels.
And that works for me.
He's mentally can do anything.
Oh, I tell you what, if y'all can teach me how to do a backflip, I'll do it.
I got you.
I got you.
I got you.
I mean, like, seriously teach me, because I tried when I was a kid, because I watched Buffy, and, you know, when she was chasing the vampires and stuff and doing backflips and kicking in doors, I tried it a couple of times. I got injured.
Are you talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yeah. Yes, I'm old, Terry. Yes, I'm old.
Yeah, they are showing that age on here today.
Ricardo, if you willing, I got you. All you got to do is, it sounds like you want to do it. All you need to do is have a heart, because that's the big thing. The heart, and just follow the directions. You got it. You're going to have this flip.
That was cute, Wyatt, but the reality is I have to be physically able to jump backwards, and me wanting to do it is not going to be enough to will me to do it.
No, you
Terry
have to
gonna
not,
get you to do it.
You have to just not be afraid to embarrass yourself, because when I was in school, like, doing gym, I'm serious, guys, I used to
That's
really
a
be the girl.
requirement?
Yes, I used to be the girl in the gym,
Yeah.
like, flipping all the time and
That's true.
falling and busting the head.
There's nothing cute about it, right? Because you could get jacked up.
Thank you for saying that. Finally, something's not cute. Yay!
Okay, was this before
I
or
like your
after you
nails, by
had
the way.
the long hair, the nails, and the lashes?
I mean, I've always been me.
And there lies my point. So it was cute even though you were falling sideways. Thank you. Rude. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, look, Ricardo is like me. The only tumbling he ever did was in the bed trying to adjust the covers and stuff.
Exactly, and
Okay.
I don't even tumble off that, so I'm not about to be
That's
jumping
called
around like a
basics.
monkey,
That's called basics.
falling around YouTube.
You're almost there.
So as y'all can tell, there's two that are athletic and two that are clearly not as athletic. You can
Wait.
pick. You can pick your
I
choice.
play sports now.
I
played
said
a
not
whole
as
bunch of-
athletic.
Oh, okay.
You know what? Fine. Chris, what sport?
Throughout high school, I played basketball, football, track, cross country, and I was in the marching band, and then I was in the military. I coached, in 2012, I coached the Fort Benning all-post team.
And
So-
just that fast, I became the minority.
Okay, I was just
Thanks.
gonna say.
no.
Thanks.
Really, we're all kind of.
I can't do it no more.
Going on.
You know what? Like I said, and just that fast, I became the minority. Thanks.
Oh,
Anyway.
one time for the interns, y'all. That's, hey, y'all can't leave me hanging.
You know what? So that was your getting to know the team. So again, this is the leadership blend, and typically the goal of this show is to inform you, to show you that leadership is something you do on a day-to-day basis. And our job on this show is to really get you into the know and get you to be that leader you want to be. And I know that sounds really cliche, but we're going to show you how that works on every week. So we're going to be tackling leadership topics, not just hot topics, leadership topics. We're going to talk about the things that affect you directly and indirectly. We're going to get you that insight so that we'll change your paradigm of thought. That's the goal,
Right.
to change your paradigm of thought, that you will become that person you want to be. Most people want to be a good leader. Sometimes they just
True.
don't know how. So
Right.
that's our goal. You know, that's why we have 3 different perspectives, 3 different thought processes. Actually 4 different perspectives, 3 different processes, all that good stuff. So out the gate, I want to ask you guys, since we are of different ages, what is leadership to you? Like, when you think of leadership, what do you think of? When you think of a good leader, a good manager, what do you typically think of? What resonates with you? What when you're on a job, what kind of leader are the people you remember? Why do you remember those kind of people?
I'm going to say someone who backs up with how they speak, how they project themselves with what they're trying to get out of the other people. If they don't represent, it's like they've said, if you go to a doctor's office and you see their plants dying in the waiting room, and you see the doctor and he has like a big old spare tire and he's trying to tell you how to eat better and do this, he's not representing to me what he's trying to tell me to do. So if I have a leader, it's not saying he has to do everything that he's leading, but he has to project that if it's about confidence, then he needs to show me confidence. If it's about being hospitable, I need to see that smile. And that's, for me, leadership means being the example. Like, it just comes out of your pores.
So when you say that, do the leaders that you remember, because
Yes.
I'm not going to put you on blast for how old you are, but since you're older than most of us, since you're older than most of us, do the leaders that you remember, were they the lead by example types, or were they just good
Moses
delegators?
did, yeah, because I knew Moses personally, as you're saying, Ricardo.
I didn't want to imply that you
That's-
told
it
Jesus to
sounds
turn
like
on the
it.
light switch so that it
Ricardo,
could be
it's-
light, but
I
since
look,
you
I
went
can't be
there.
as young as Terry. I mean, she's going to be young for
Well,
the next
Terry's
50
younger
years.
than all of us, so
Okay.
I'm the baby, but
Young, young and beautiful.
Thank you.
But
I don't feel like we should keep telling her that. I feel like that's
guys-
going to
Okay.
like really.
It's really not
she's
because
intelligent.
Thank you. But I'm really not even, like, my head isn't even really big. Like, on our leadership development plan, that was one of the things, confidence.
Yeah, which
But
I haven't seen yet.
Mine's is ready already. See how I'm always a step ahead.
No, you're not a step. Okay, but I digress. So
Okay.
Finish, Chris.
Yes.
finish
A leader that I would see like that, they just can't be inconsistent, because if you're leading me and then you're so hypocritical with everything that you're doing, then I'm going to have a hard time. I'm basically going to have to start leading myself. But if you're the leader, I really need to see you. I'm not, like I said, it doesn't mean you do everything I have to do, because some things require things you can't do. But you need to lead with your character. So I believe in the character of a leader. That's stronger than anything, because you could be a senior leader and can't do what a younger person can do physically, but you can lead them by your character. So.
Mm.
Okay, well, I kind of agree with that. I'm definitely the person that, like, as far as leadership goes, like, for someone to lead by example. And I also, as far as leadership goes, like, for someone to challenge me. Like, if you can actually challenge me and, like, challenge my mind and the way I do things, because at that point when you're a leader, you know, somebody's looking up to you. And you want to not necessarily do what they want to do, but you want to go into that kind of direction. Like, honestly, okay, since we're on air, I'll be the corny one today. I think that, like, Ricardo, like, seriously, you know, you've been doing this for a while, so to me, like, you would be that leader for me. So it's like, I need somebody that's, you know, structured and to help me change all the things that I need. So I feel like if I can gain something from you, and that's a positive, in a positive way, even if it's a negative, and I can just learn how to not do what you did, but do it better, then that's cool too.
Which, on that note, and that's, I'm glad you said that, because oftentimes we think that leaders are supposed to be, you know, oh, I have the game plan, oh, I know exactly what we're going to do, and that's not realistic leadership, because leadership sometimes does come from trial and error. Sometimes you have to go into war as bestly prepared as you are, but expect the worst, and that's on my part-time job how I typically train. I'm like, well, I want you to see a very bad situation so that you will be prepared whenever anything else happens. You'll be like, well, that wasn't as bad as what I first saw, so I can get through that. And sometimes that's what you need as a leader. Sometimes a leader, which will segue to my book, we're not going to talk about that, called Calculated Conflict, because sometimes you want to learn to calculate conflict. Sometimes you need to spur something to get everybody in disarray so that you can step in and go, see, everything was in disarray, but this is how we fix it, and this is how we never get in this situation again. So that was a good point, but I digress. I just want to throw that in.
I strongly believe, though, sometimes you have to lose your mind to find your peace of mind. So,
Elaborate. What does that mean?
Like, sometimes, like, okay, for example, nothing bad lasts forever, nothing good lasts forever. Sometimes you have to.
Where you get all these cliches from? Where you get this? You got a book somewhere? Like,
I think she got a bag of fortune cookies under
I don't know.
Let me look.
That's what it sounds like.
I just,
where are you getting this stuff from? Like,
I think that's how
wisdom.
my life has been. You know, I'm young. So
I'm about to say, you talking about your
I'm
life
only
has
22.
been. Your life has been.
But
she's an old soul.
But I do believe that. I do
wisdom.
believe that. Like, literally, guys. But okay, you know, I'm gonna take a small little set. Tell you guys this story. Got in a little trouble like last week of school, and then it was like.
Are we talking about legal trouble? Are we talking about academic? Go to the provost trouble.
Yeah, like academic trouble.
Like you end up in the provost office trouble.
Not necessarily that.
Or the dean of students.
Dean, maybe.
The dean of students.
Yeah. Okay.
You do know I have 4 degrees, so I know all about the hierarchy.
Okay.
And I was on
Okay,
judicial
do y'all hear
board.
Ricardo here? He's bragging. He got 4 degrees, y'all. He got 4 degrees. He got a book.
And I was on judicial board at Coastal Carolina, so I know all about that. So, but carry on.
Okay, so maybe I shouldn't. I don't even want to tell nobody now. You know what?
No,
Chris, take it away.
No, Terry, finish.
Oh,
come
now
on,
you
come
have
on
to
now,
finish the
come
story,
on,
'cause I want to
Okay,
hear
so
it.
let me tell y'all. Nobody, we can't put this nowhere. Okay, let me tell y'all. So I got in a little trouble because me and a few of my classmates were basically like, we were nervous about a test, and we were just talking about it in the group meeting, right? So we got in so much trouble for it because one of the students had told the teacher, right?
Was it? It sounded like it was that bad. I mean,
Oh, they so petty.
No, but we didn't even cheat or anything. Like, we didn't cheat on the test. We was just basically talking about it, right? And got in trouble. And then it's just like the week before graduation. So just imagine if you're thinking like, oh my God, I'm finna graduate, and you're super excited. Then the week before, they're like, oh no, we're gonna take this to the dean because you guys are cheating. Like,
Look
that's
at that.
unethical. And I just strongly believe that sometimes, like, I felt like I was on this high horse. You know, I was doing all these hosting shows. Like, I won like the People Choice Award at like the JMC Awards. That's like over the department, and I just felt like I was on this high horse. And then that second it just hit, and it was like, wow, like, you know, like, so I do believe that sometimes, you know, it's called balance. Sometimes you have to go through your lows to get to your highs, and you just have to go through that movement, like that process, so you can really appreciate that gratitude when it comes. You get what I'm saying?
Understood.
So that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Got to
But-
be more careful.
You still got to tell us what a leadership means to you.
Yeah.
Well, leadership to me,
Oh Lord.
it means serving. Thought I was gonna say something funny, didn't you?
Serving?
Well, I know you got all puffed
Of
up
course.
and set
I
up
like
close
that.
to the mic, so I didn't know what that was about.
Okay, so what is
I didn't know
serving?
that was.
Okay,
Serving
so
leadership.
think about this. If you have somebody and they're telling you, hey, I want you to do this and do that and do this and do that, but then they never ever do something like that themselves, that's not a leader.
Right.
That is a slave dropper. A
Okay.
leader is going to say, let's do, and not you do.
Wait, now let me pause.
All right, Chris.
Let me pause you there, because a good leader can also be a good delegator.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a
of
delegating leader. Like when we have meetings, I'm like, okay, well, you handle this, you handle this, you handle this, and sometimes out the gate, people are like, well, you ain't gonna do nothing. I will show you what I can do when I need to jump in, but out the gate, I need you to understand what's expected of you, and the only way to do that is to delegate it to you, so that you can do whatever you need to do, whether you do it really well, whether you don't do it really well, so we can regroup afterwards. So
Exactly.
I just want to make
Exactly.
sure, because people like to say that, well, you know, you're not on the floor with me doing operations, and you can't tell me
Oh
nothing.
no. See, the thing is, a lot of people, they'll say, hey, you do, and then they won't ever do themselves. And then when they like, hey, okay, so you're the leader, how about you show me how to do it? And then the leader is like, no, that's not my job. No, if you told them to do it, you should know at least something of how to do it themselves. Like, for example, an officer in the military, they don't know exactly what everybody's specific job is. What they have is, I can't remember the word for it, but it's like career paths. So they would go into aviation, or they would go into something like that. So let's just say aviation, right? They're an aviation pilot. What they know how to do is they know how to fly. But then they don't know how to exactly fuel the aircraft.
Right.
They don't know how to sit in a gunner seat.
Yeah.
They don't know how to, do I guess the people in the buildings and everything. I cannot remember what it's called.
called
But they know. Yeah, but they know in general.
Ricardo.
They know in general of what is to be expected of
Right.
everybody and what everybody's job looks like. They may not know every detail of how to do it, but they know something about it. And that is what defines a leader to me. You don't have to know the exact specifics, but if you know something and you know exactly where everything is going and what it should look like, then you can be a viable leader.
Okay, I disagree with that. I'm sorry. Y'all don't have to look like that.
I was waiting to see what you're gonna follow that with. Like, what,
Hold on, Terry.
Okay, you know, I
you-
tell y'all all the
All right,
time.
back
It's your
it
face
up.
to spread.
Back it up.
You was
Back
like,
up what
okay.
you're saying now.
I just think that just
well, what
because,
part are you talking
well, as far as being a leader, you have to know, like, I guess, I don't want to say everything or know something about something. I don't feel like that because you can. No, I just don't agree with that. Like, I feel like I could lead someone. Like, I mean, I don't know a lot of things. Okay, it's a lot of things I don't know, but I feel like I'm a good leader. So I just think that.
Oh, you just feel like
I
it.
just feel
That is
like
the
that.
most
I'm sorry.
ludicrous statement I've ever heard. I don't know anything about it, but I just feel good. But you
I
know what?
feel like
we're going to table that, and when we come back, we're going to let Terry expound upon why she feels like she's a great leader. So stick around on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. Hey everybody, it's Ricardo D. Rice from the Leadership Blend, airing every Monday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. on IBNX Radio, Talk NX.
Life comes at us fast. One thing that gives us comfort is knowing that someone is there when you need them. Well, at Pleasant Hills Insurance, that's our promise to our clients. Call 770-910-7460 today or visit our website at pleasanthillsinsurance.com for your free, no obligations quote on retirement and life insurance. Many of the large agencies have turned their back on the retired workforce. At Pleasant Hills Insurance, if others can't qualify you, very often we can. Pleasant Hills Insurance proudly provides options for preconditions. So call 770-910-7460 888-866-7460 or visit PleasantHillsInsurance.com today for your free, no obligations quote on retirement and life insurance. Pleasant Hills Insurance. We're here when you need us.
Never knew my life could be this way. I never knew the sun could shine all day. Never thought I'd live beyond my past until I found Jesus. I never thought I'd be in this place. Oh, I'm glad, so glad I'm living my life in this place. Ooh, I never knew my heart feel again.
listening to IBNX, IBNXradio.com.
All right, everybody, we are back on this week's first edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and my very special people, Chris Marshall, Terry House, and Chris Wyatt. And when we left, Chris Marshall was talking about his experience with leadership in the military, and Terry chimed in and said that she didn't agree, and she feels like she's a great leader. Now, mind you, Terry's only, 22?
Yes.
So in her, it's not even 22 years of living because you got to count out the first year. So in her 20-ish years of living, she feels like she's a great leader. Actually, when we start taking away math, the first year, was development. The second year, you were probably getting on everybody's nerves as a 2-year-old. So technically, you probably didn't start getting into talking and stuff like that, cognitive stuff, until about, 6, 7? So
you trying to take more years away from me?
6 minus 22 is what?
Hey, don't.
That's like 16.
Nobody can do math in here.
That's
What is 6 minus 22?
6 plus 6 is 12. 22.
So what, it's 12?
It's 16.
So in your 16 years of living,
I see.
you
y'all
feel
see
like
I'm quick on my feet.
you're
16.
a good leader. And how many jobs have you had?
Like 3, 2.
No, don't get quiet. Now, how many jobs have you had?
Okay.
I
had
didn't
like
say
3.
internships. I said jobs.
3.
What were the 3?
Okay. My
Because
first.
you have to build this case. I'm
Okay.
judge, jury, and executioner. So you got to build this case.
My first job was my first job was Checkers. I was
Really?
16, 17 years. This was my first job ever.
How
Can't
long
believe I was so
I
Did you
would have
eat the
gained
food?
so much weight there.
I did.
I mean, look, if
Them
you can do
fries are
fast
bomb.
food, you can do anything.
Okay. Oh, but
Oh my God! And there it is. The
But,
salute to Cardi B.
no, I did that, and then I worked at an airport, and I was like pushing people in like the wheelchairs and stuff.
Oh, so you're just being cute, pushing people around? Because I've seen what those people.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And then my last job, I was actually a manager at Jimmy Jazz, so that was like my really
Okay.
big job,
Alright.
big girl job.
Hey, I vote to take away a couple of years for puberty.
No. But
Oh,
even
my
then,
goodness.
okay, so matter of fact, since we were talking about leadership, let me explain, okay, what I was meaning since we're talking about jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, so like when I was a manager at Jimmy Jazz, mind you, I was the youngest manager ever. I think I was like a manager at 21. Although I'm like 22 now,
All
I'm
right,
about to be
hold
23.
on, because I've done retail management. Were you a key holder, an assistant manager, or a manager? Because there's a difference.
Assistant manager.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
I digress because I thought about you
Ooh,
say a floor
she's
suit.
emphatic
I was
on that.
For those that are not familiar, in the world of retail, because I did Tommy Hilfiger when it was hot in 2000, 2001, there are third keys, which are floor supervisors. There's assistant managers, and then there's the general manager. And then you can start getting, depending on what kind of retail you're in, you get into visual managers and operations managers, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So I had to ask so I could discern her level of
Responsibility?
yes, pretty much. Carry on. Okay, assistant manager, that's pretty hot. Carry on.
I had like the keys to the store, the safe, all that. I'm a real manager, real deal, okay?
Okay, all right.
Now,
But the point of what I'm saying is like, okay, I came into a situation not necessarily knowing everything about, Jimmy Jazz or shoes. Like, because as y'all can see, and maybe I don't know, but I'm a heel type of girl. Like, I like heels.
We talking about red bottoms? Because you like a red bottom girl.
I am that too.
I would have
But
guessed that.
I like heels, period, though. It doesn't, look, shoe cam. But not just that. I didn't know too much about that situation. Like, even now, if someone asks me something about a shoe, I might be still a little off about it. But I do feel like, as far as leadership goes, that, you can still lead your team, motivate everybody, and get everybody
True,
on one
true.
accord. You get what I'm saying? You don't necessarily have to know everything about a situation. It's what you do in that situation that makes you a great leader, to me, in my mind. It's like, if this was survival of the fittest and we all had to come up with something, I may not know nothing about it, but, I'm going to
right.
spark up some type of idea to get us where we're going.
But you know what? What I think is when it's like when you get hired, they hire you for your skills. They hire you to do the job of that segment of the job. So,
Right.
like you said, if you're way up there, the CEO, you wouldn't expect the CEO to really know everything how to do like what you're doing. But at the same time, when I hired you for that skill set. So I expect that I don't have to worry about that because you said in the way I check your references and all that you are able to do that part of the job. So I don't even have to know. I don't have to know that part of the operation. Like you were saying, like you don't think you have to know everything.
Right.
And I agree with that part, but I also agree, like I said earlier, that the character of the leader. I mean, if the leader is all over the place, they're talking about being calm and everything they say. They yell and they lose it. You know, they're pulling hair out of their nose. I mean,
Okay,
it's
Chris is showing his age again, guys. He said pulling hairs out your nose. That's some old stuff.
All right, but then that segues us to different types of power.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there are different types of power. There's a knowledge power that people, like I'll say on my part-time job, people respect what I do because they know I know it. So when it comes to events and something goes wrong in events, they're looking for me because I've proven that I have that level of knowledge. So that brings about the respect. Then there's coercive power where you can get people to do things, which can be very detrimental. This is what I tell people when you start talking about charismatic leaders.
Yes.
Because a charismatic leader can lead 50,000 people off a cliff. And, you know, they don't think twice about it. And you see that kind of stuff when you think about the Holocaust. You know,
True.
the mere fact that Adolf Hitler was able to convince that many people
Yeah.
that genocide was acceptable is an example of a charismatic leader. Now, reciprocally, you see a charismatic leader in somebody like Barack Obama because he had the personality, you know, he was just him. Actually, I don't want to just limit to him because we are African Americans. So I don't want to just limit to him. You can also say Bill Clinton was like that. He was a charismatic leader. They're the kind of
True.
people you want to invite to your house to have drinks. They're the kind of people you be like, you know what? I think they fun. I want to go hang out with them.
True.
Charismatic leaders. They walk in the room and they're just like, people just like, oh, I like them. I just like them. And you're like, why do you like them? I just like them. I want to follow them.
Right.
You also see that on Instagram when you see the people who can get you to buy 50,000 things. Charismatic, charisma. People have that kind of stuff.
True.
But I will say to the example, when you're talking about the military, it's a whole different paradigm of thought. So I don't really get into military leadership because I've never been in it. But I know from experiences dealing with people who have been in the military, they're just taught a different way. So, you know, I think that's why it's hard when people try to transition to being a civilian. It's tough because
Yes,
you've been
it
kind of
is.
given derivatives
Yeah.
most of your career, and now you're having to think independently. You know,
I think they got the backing of all of those code of ethics of the military, and then sometimes in corporate, you just out there trying to go against this or that. But I think with the military, that structure is like you can't. It's not a lot of wiggle room on that
Yeah,
kind
you
of
can't
structure.
deviate.
It's
like you
really
said.
not. I mean, for the most part, it used to trip me out when I was in because people would be like, "Oh man, y'all doing that? Ooh, I wouldn't be doing that. They
Right.
wouldn't be talking to me like that." And I'm like, bruh, if you was in this,
Yes.
and you was in this uniform, you'd be up early in the morning running, doing PT,
Yep.
just like everybody else. And if somebody wanted to say something to you, your behind is gonna be doing everything that everybody else is doing, simply because you know
True.
it's totally different with being like in the civilian world.
Yeah.
Because like in the civilian world, what's the worst they can do? Fire me. What they gonna do? What else they gonna do? Whoop me?
Right.
So in the
Whoop me?
military, yeah.
And
They
you,
could-
you
yeah,
guys
but-
have the
Okay, I have
dishonorable
a question.
discharge too.
Okay, you
Oh,
guys,
wait a
I have
minute, wait a minute.
Okay, I'm sorry.
One sec. So in the military, we have this mindset that wait a minute, we realize that there's somebody in an office over there that can with a swipe of their pen they can ruin your entire life for the rest of your life.
Right.
And you know that, so you're gonna try to walk a fine line and do what they say,
True,
and you're gonna
true.
try to make rank and go to boards and be where you're supposed to be, right place, right time, right uniform. That's what they say all the time. I mean, you gonna have to do it, or else the rest of your life is done. Somebody has the power, and I saw this situation a couple of times. Like, it was people that absolutely did nothing wrong, and yet because somebody else had the power and they got their leadership and they got ranked too fast and didn't know how to handle it, somebody told them the truth about themselves, and they was like, "Oh, so you disrespected me? Oh, we'll see about that."
Right.
And then picked up their pen, and they were done.
So that honorable discharge is like the big thing hanging over everything that you guys in the military do.
Oh,
isn't it?
yeah.
That's a big thing versus in the civilian world, you just say, hey, man, I'll just get me another job.
Oh yeah,
And I won't use them for a reference.
yeah, or you just
Right.
won't even put it on your
Right.
resume.
But in the military, it's so serious because they can ruin your whole life
they can.
if you
Okay,
don't do what's right.
can I finally chime in now, guys?
Oh, go ahead, darling.
Because
Oh,
I'm
you've been
sorry.
being-
Yes.
let the baby in. All right, go ahead, Terry. Go ahead.
I have a question because as far as military goes, you know, I'm not a military girl, clearly. But what I was saying is, do you know, a lot of people associate like military with like heroes and stuff like that. So when you talk about leadership, do you really, you know, look as like leadership and hero, like, you know, do you kind of like put them together? Like, do you know what I'm saying? As a military, you know, what are you
Honestly,
actually? You know, a veteran or? What did you?
Am I what?
Like, what do you do? What did you do in the military?
Yeah, I was gonna ask what branch.
Yeah.
and then
There we go.
was
What
your
branch?
occupation?
See, that's how you know I'm a little lost. I don't
Okay,
even know
well,
where to go with this.
I did several jobs in the Army.
Oh, you in the Army?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so I had to. I first joined. I did my basic training in 2006 at Fort Benning, Georgia, by Columbus, and then I got up and I started in infantry. But then when I went to a reserve unit back in Mississippi, they didn't have that slot because the reserves work on slots, and so I ended up going into supply. And then I went active duty. Then I went into fuel handling. And then they told me, hey, you getting hurt too much, so we need you to either get out or pick a new job. Yeah, whatever. So that's why I can't tumble.
So you had like
yeah. So then I end up going into human resource.
He's got an alibi now. He's got an alibi.
Yeah, I got into human resource for my last few years, and it was pretty cool actually because I ended my career on the same place that I did my basic training. So, like, within an 8-year period, I, started and ended my career on Sand Hill in Fort Benning. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's give it up one time for all the military veterans and branches.
Yeah, we salute you guys for your service to the
thank
country.
You.
All right, so I want to segue to Wyatt because there was an article that you brought up that was saying about people getting promoted too fast.
Oh, yes.
And I have, again, I might not be the oldest, but I've had the most jobs, I promise. From everything from retail to office to fast food, I've done it all. So I've seen a lot, but I digress.
Okay, 519, May 13th, AJC, they had an article about be happy you're not moving up. And that's actually the title of it, that you're not moving up. And it's talking about being promoted too soon. And that happens a lot, and I know I see it in my corporate environment that sometimes the company's just trying to move somebody in a position that's open, or somebody's really being liked by somebody in upper management, and the next thing you know, they move from washing dishes to now they're the manager of some department. and you're like, oh my goodness, I saw the guy washing dishes 2 weeks ago, now he's in the front office. So the whole concept was to talk about the idea of, is moving up too fast a bad move? The article mentioned that sometimes companies promote you to fill in a role or because it's cheaper than hiring expert help from outside, and that may set you up for success if you're not right for the role. It might not be setting you up. That's what it said. So the big question is putting someone in a position too quick for their experience a good thing? And from my perspective, I would say no. I say that it takes time to become seasoned in a position, and that moving too quick for anything is just like moving a teenager into an adulthood that they're not prepared for just because they became an age. And
all right, so let me set a stage for this because let's set a stage. So there's a company, and the company just got a email from the CEO, and the CEO says, okay, you guys, we're looking at your bottom line. Let's say this is store 25 in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's one of 30 stores in Georgia, period. So the CEO sends out an email, and he says to this particular store, hey, you guys, we're looking at your numbers, and when we compare you guys to the other 24 stores, your numbers are not that good, and primarily it's because of your management. So he says to them, okay, so now you got to figure out what to do with your management, and it's not necessarily from a performance standpoint, it's from a financial standpoint. So in that regard, this is primarily where you see the stage is set for something like this, because what happens is they look at their management, they go, who costs me the most in their management position? And typically it's your seasoned person.
Yes.
So then they go, okay, well, I know you've been here for 30 years, but you cost the company way too much. So at this point, we have two choices. Either you can take a pay cut and keep your same position, or we demote you to something else, or we give you, and it's become a foreign term, we give you a cute severance package and you can go on about your way. Most of the time, and I was going to do this, but I'll do it later, you start getting into generations. Mm-hmm. Baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, millennials, Generation Z. Typically, when you're talking about people who've been in management for numbers of years, you're primarily talking about baby boomers. So with a baby boomer, they have a very high level of pride. And again, I'll get into all this because it's part of my book and it's part of what I do. But they have a high level of pride. So with that pride, they're probably not going to take a demotion. They're probably not going to take a pay cut. So they're probably going to take that severance package. So now what are you going to do? You have an empty position that's a higher level, but you got to fill it because your day-to-day operations have to continue. So in that situation, is it best to move everybody up and then put your best person in that lowest management spot, which is probably key holder, supervisor, something like that, floor soup, or do you promote somebody at the higher level and leave a hole directly in the middle? What do you do?
Okay, well, since I just recently experienced that. Last year, I had to demote myself from being a manager because I studied abroad in London. So, so I had to demote myself, like, become a sales associate instead of assistant manager. And the next person up, like in the store, he just kind of like boosted the next person up who he felt like was ready. But I just feel like it depends on, again, I feel like it just depends on what job, or you know what I'm saying, like a person, like how you said with key holders, or if a person has a little bit of experience and you feel like not necessarily, well, I guess it does, because if you feel like they can take your brand to the next level, then that's always a plus.
Okay.
But if,
all right, well, segue from that. All right, so there is a difference between passion and experience. Yes. Because sometimes people may not have the experience to take your brand to the next level, but they have the passion to take your brand to the next level. So you get into a toss-up because I've seen that as well. Some people are just like, yeah, I'm diehard. Let's say IBNX. I'm diehard IBNX. I've been here from day one, blah, blah. They have the passion for the brand, but they don't have the knowledge to understand how to work a board. Or they don't have the knowledge to understand how to be a personality. Can you swap out passion for experience?
Yeah, of course.
You think so?
I think so, because at that point you're eager to learn. Like, if you want to learn something, then by all means, like, someone can teach you and you can really, like, be the best there is. So
yeah, but then you also have to say, well, on that again, case in point, this is my new station but not a new show. I had a group of interns who were eager to learn radio. When they got into it and they had to gain the experience, it became a whole different creature. So, and like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate, but again, do you always think that you can swap out passion for experience?
No, and I have anybody see the movie Founder about Ray Kroc? It's on, I believe it's on Netflix.
McDonald's guy.
Yes, the guy who really took that to become a worldwide chain, because those guys were just doing it out in California. And so he had a ton of passion. He actually was a failing salesperson.
Okay, can you tell us about it for the people that don't know?
About Founder?
Yeah.
It's about the McDonald's, how the McDonald's became the biggest brand in the world.
Okay.
I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
And
I didn't watch
the
it.
movie is Founder. And it's about Ray Kroc, because he was like a failing salesman. He was trying to sell some kind of mixers to the McDonald's brothers.
Wait, isn't there some swindling in that story? Because it
yes,
started with two brothers and
he took the idea, but he had a ton of passion. So I was just bringing that in, that his passion was what he started becoming their franchise seller. And then he went against them because he wanted to do things in the franchise that they didn't agree to, the McDonald brothers. And then he found a way. He got a big business guy to figure out that if he leased the land that the businesses went on, he controls what goes on by the people who lease from him. And he moved the McDonald brothers out. But at the same time, his passion put that business in like hundreds and hundreds of places before he passed away. Thousands, I think, by the time.
Well, thanks for supporting my theory.
What I'm saying, I'm saying on the passion side, the passion sometimes can, but I think you need some experience.
Well, yeah,
too.
but that didn't actually go to your point. Actually, it fell down the middle, because what it says is clearly he had both. He had the experience in some aspect of it, but he had the passion for the overall. So he had the experience enough to know, hey, I need to go get some experts in these other little small areas that I don't understand, which becomes a problem when you get into, because again, this is another segue, and this is what leadership is. It segues you all over the place to have different conversations. Okay. So then you start segueing into the third sector. For those who do not know, the third sector is nonprofits, religious organizations, stuff of that magnitude. It's either, people say it's nonprofit, but technically it's called the third sector. And this is what you see. Let's use churches. Church leadership. You see a passion for God, but you don't see the experience to lead people. two different ball games. Two different ball games. I see it every day. I'm a devout church person.
So true.
I see it every day. I'm with leaders all the time who have a passion for God, and you know, they'll tell you about going to hell and then about going to heaven, but there's not an experience to lead people, which you have to be able to have a successful organization in general, but primarily in an organization that thrives off what would be deemed transformational leadership.
You better
or
preach.
the ideology that whatever you're teaching, or in this case preaching, is to elevate and change the paradigm of thought in a certain level of people. So you start having these conversations, passion versus experience.
Right.
But Chris, what's your thought on passion versus experience?
I mean, y'all literally just said everything that I was thinking, so I was like, there is no need for me to chime in.
Find a new angle.
I think he's still tumbling out of the covers. That's what I think. He's still doing his, he's working his way out. By the time he gets to the bathroom, he'll be brushing his teeth.
I mean, I have literally seen in my life where passion and where passion and experience both played a part in success.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, if you're going to be passionate about something, you're going to go after the experience. You're going to go after the education. You're going to go after everything that you need in order to be successful in what you're doing. Like right now, I wanted to be in radio. The way that I found this right here was I was like, you know what? Let me search on Indeed. Let me see if there's some radio jobs out there. Because, I was searching for work at the time. And I was like, let me see what's out there. And on top of that, when I went into radio before, I was on a college radio station. So I had literally no experience. And they was like, okay, here, you take this little test, FCC, words you can't say. All right, here you go. Here's your show. And I'm like, what do I do? So I started listening to other people like Tom Joyner and different podcasts and
so
Ricky Smiley. And I was like, okay, so let me learn this. And on top of that, let me learn how to write my own content. Let me learn how to produce and engineer the entire show. And then I had to do that. And so if you have the passion for it, you're going to find the experience. True. You're going to find the
that's
education.
That's like case in point for what you're saying.
Yeah.
It proved that you had the passion, but then you had to gain the experience. But I guess the AJC article is saying, like, those people that's just like you were saying, somebody had to replace you when you were. Sometimes a big thing I'm finding out, and you see it on those HR assessments where they ask you about likability. I'm realizing likability go a long way, even sometimes beating out who's the best at something. And if the guy that you're going to work directly with is liking you a little more and figure, man, I'll make up for what you don't know because I kind of dig you and you kind of make sure I'm doing pretty good. Like you got my back, you work long hours and you don't mind that I'm this or that, and they can get promoted faster than they're supposed to by just natural channels, but that person likes them personally.
What am I doing wrong? Because a lot of people like me, but I ain't. What am I doing wrong?
Well, some of those are brown nosers, so
or they're just trying to get other places.
Right.
But to paint a bigger picture, though. Okay, so you see stuff like this, and sometimes intellect alone is not enough. So case in point, for those individuals, and this is free, so I'm not gonna charge you guys for it. This is free.
Okay,
for those individuals, primarily for you, for those individuals who are considering going into higher education, professional careers, lawyers, doctors, things of that magnitude, what you discover, and I discovered this the hard way, is intellect alone is not enough to get you into those institutions. Case in point with law school. Yes, you can have a 4.0, and you could be in beta club and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. The problem you're going to run into when you apply is they're going to ask you, what else did you do? I did not know that. They're going to ask you what else you do. And at first I was like, why would you want to know that? Likability. Because it's easy to go to school and go home and keep a 4.0 to get in law school. It's harder when you get a 4.0, you're the president of your own student organization, you have 2 jobs, and you have a family life that requires your presence. Whole different ballgame. So sometimes intellect alone is not enough, and people don't realize that, especially when in education. It's not enough. I'm smart, but I had to learn that me being smart and browbeating people with it was not going to get me in the doors I wanted to get into. So I had to learn how to build interpersonal relationships. I had to learn how to be able to get along with people I don't necessarily like. So these are all things that play into leadership as a whole. It can't be gotten to by subtracting out factors. Oh, well, I'm good at this, so I should be a leader. No.
I think that was a shot. I felt hit.
No,
If
not
you
at all. Not at all.
A hit dog will holler.
Okay, well, look.
A hit dog will holler. So, let me put it in your generation. If the shoe fits,
Wear it.
wear it.
Okay.
Oh, actually, if the red bottom fits,
Wear it.
I will receive that. Okay.
She'll receive
I will
that.
receive
She's
that.
a hill girl.
So how do y'all feel about leadership in general? Okay, so let's stay with the military example because you get to be the expert today. Because most theorists will shy away from dealing with the military paradigm because the military is one of those things you understand it if you're in it, and you don't really talk about it when you leave it. So you get to be the expert. So what does that look like?
Oh man. Okay, so what angle are we going for? Like the as far as the leadership?
You know what? Actually, let's take this angle. Most of them, actually, let's put that on the table. So everybody just hang on. We're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to get into paradigms, particularly the military mindset. So stick around the Leadership Band with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
ATL, get ready for the Celebrity Basketball Game of the Year.
Hello, my friends. This is the Cobb County Commissioner Larry Johnson from District 3. I want to welcome you to the 5th annual Learn to Live Health Expo and Celebrity Basketball Game that will go on from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. May 19th at 2171 Columbia Drive at the Intergenerational Center right here in Southwest DeKalb.
That's right. The Georgia Spartans are having its 5th annual Learn to Live Health Expo and Celebrity Basketball Game. Come on out and join us. We're doing free health screens, free eyeglasses, free sickle cell checks, free arthritis checks, free high blood pressure checks. And don't forget, we're having our famous celebrity dunk contest. So bring the kids out because we have free prizes for the kids, food, performances by their favorite celebrities, vendors, and much, much more. On May the 19th, 2018 from 3 to 6 p.m. at Exchange Park, 2771 Columbia Drive in Decatur, where it's greater.
This is the Cobb County Commissioner Larry Johnson. Come on and join us. Let's have fun. Let's be well together. Let's make a difference in our community.
Ooh, don't we look good together? There's a reason why they watch all night long. Yeah, I know we'll turn heads forever. So tonight I'm gonna show you all. When I walk with you, I watch the whole room change.
everybody. It's Ricardo D. Rice from the Leadership Blend, simplifying your leadership.
You're listening to IBNX, IBNXradio.com. The station with the best music. Best music.
I love the music.
Best music.
Hey, what's up? It's Jay-Z.
Hey, I'm Mariah Carey. Hey, it's Katy Perry.
It's your boy T.I.P., man. It is. It's your boy Sean Kingston.
What's up, y'all? I'm Beyonce. This is Nicki Minaj, and I'm in the mix with
IBNX Radio.
All right, everybody, we're back on this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and my co-hosts, Christopher Marshall, Terry House, and Christopher Wyatt. And when we left, well, for the bulk of the conversation, we've been talking about leadership in general, because that's what we do. But we were talking about leadership in the third sector. We've talked about leadership just in everyday life. But we're going to embark on a journey that very few theorists, leadership theorists, will get into, because it's one of those that you need a lot of information that you typically cannot get. So that's the military. And since we have a military resident here today, we're going to attempt to fill the hole in a paradigm that people just can't seem to get information on. And so here's the question. The question is, we find that a lot of times military individuals have a hard time transitioning from military life to civilian life. Right. So we're going to attempt to pick that apart today as to why that is. And for me, I think it has to do with the thought process that you're trained to have when you're in the military versus what's feasible when you exit the military. So we're going to see. So Chris, you get to spark this conversation.
Well, okay, so I'll start out with the mind of a military member. So what we're trained to do is we're trained to anyone that is a higher rank than you are, outside of training, that is, they are somebody that you should listen to. They are the ones that, you stand with your hands behind your back. We call it standing at ease or parade rest or something like that. And we're trained to obey those people. Like if I have a certain rank and then Terry has another rank and she's higher than I am and she tells me to do something, if I don't do it, she can be like, "Oh, that's how you gonna do? Oh, we'll see about that." And then she can go to my, immediate supervisor, and then they do what they call a counseling statement. So basically they just write it down. Well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that, and now here, you sign it. Oh, you don't want to sign it? Okay, fine. Refuse to sign. And they put it in your file. You don't have a choice. And so it's almost like it's your word against theirs. The only difference is their word goes on paper. And then they create paper trails, and then pretty soon you can do something as little as, hey, I was 5 minutes late to PT and y'all started running without me. Oh, okay, well, we got this little paper trail, so you have a history of doing stuff like this and being rebellious. Okay, well, I tell you what, we'll take a little bit of your time, we'll take your rank, we'll take your money.
Wow.
See how you like it. And that's what we're trained to do. So, and that's how we're trained to think. So then rank means everything. So then somebody that comes out and they are, just say, a first sergeant in the military, in the Army, and then they come out, in their mind, they think, well, I'm a first sergeant. So okay. I can get out and I can do this. Oh, civilian, hey, you know who I am? I'm a first sergeant. So you gonna do, and they like, I don't even know what that means. Bye.
Wow.
Yeah, because I don't know what that means. So
yeah, exactly.
Chris, can you even be telling us this?
It's common knowledge. Okay. It's common knowledge.
I have to ask, guys. I don't know.
In that moment, Terry became the show lawyer. Good job, Terry. Yes.
Just making sure, I don't want nobody coming at us about.
I'm not going to jail.
Look,
so
I had no parts of that. Okay.
But I mean that's just how they train us to think. And so then when people come out, their only thing is to get ranked, to become a supervisor or something, or to be ahead of somebody so that they can tell somebody what to do. And it's not all of them. And, I dare to say, and I ran across a lot of people like this, so I really don't care what they think. But it's a lot of people, you'll see them get picked on in high school. You'll see them like they really wasn't anything in high school, and they really couldn't hack it in college. And then they go into the military and they get, or even police. They go and they get badges and they get rank and all this type of stuff, and then they come back like they Billy.
So you're saying they can be ego tripping?
Yes, and it's always that.
Yeah. Okay, well that can't be it though, because
no, that's not it all the time. But I run across several of them.
Some of them.
Yeah.
All right, but we're trying to decode what the whole is. That can't be it, because that's a real world thing. People go to get picked on.
Power.
And
Power.
people don't believe that
Yes.
I was not popular in high school. I was not popular in high school. I wasn't even smart in high school. I didn't bloom until my late 20s. That's when I really became somebody different. So
You ain't the only one.
that's
Okay, well,
others of us. I'm sure that doesn't apply to them. And I'm not even going to shoot that shot. That is directly at Terry. So, I don't even have to shoot that. That's directly at you.
Well, I wasn't, but I've seen that firsthand though, like especially with military. I had been in Savannah, it's an army base down there, so I had a few friends, and they were like sergeants, and they were like really like if people was in their uniform, I guess at a certain time or something, like they'll try to say something just so they can seem like they have power. But I knew that they was kind of like one of those people that didn't have a lot of play in high school too, so I figured that. But I agree with that.
So, do you think that some of the military loses like the sense of the civilian world reality because of all that time they spend, being mentally trained, basically, because you're dealing with how to handle life and death with firearms and direct orders that there's no negotiation, and then you come into an environment that's civilian where people are like, hey, bruh, or something like that. Like, I'm not doing that. Or, you know what? You could talk to I'm, and versus a place that is just one direction, it's that and done, or you're in there's some serious discipline kind of.
Well, I guess my question, would you call that fear? Do you think that's a certain level of fear that they lead with fear?
In a way, it is. Simply because, I mean, like a soldier that's what they call a junior enlisted, like a private or a private first class or something like that, or even a specialist. I mean, they don't have much to go off on except for what's on their chest. And a lot of times I found that people that when it came to following orders and things, and people would only respect what was on your chest and not the man itself. And then a lot of people, after they get disciplined or they get chewed out or yelled at or something, they'll go around like, man, if it wasn't for what's on their chest, ooh. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, it's...
That's kind of true because, I didn't do military. But as far as, like, teachers and stuff like that, I've had that experience. Like, you have a teacher that's kind of, like, mean and firm. And, like, they might chew you out that one time. But the next time, you're going to respect them even more because, like, I don't even want to hear her mouth. Like, I'm going to listen to what she's saying. So I agree with that.
Actually, I'm kind of offended because that's typically what people say about me. I don't hear Ricardo's mouth, so I'm just going to do what I know I'm supposed to do so I don't have to hear his mouth.
But I think that's a good thing.
It depends because, you're not exactly the life of the party. And, sometimes you...
But people respect you, though.
Yeah, but there's a trade-off, though. Either you're going to be the life of the party or you're going to be the one that people respect, and not very many people can fall in the middle.
Well, Ricardo, you need to get you and me because, I fall in the middle. I don't know about y'all, but I fall in the middle. I don't have those kind of problems.
Yeah, but the problem is you're 22 now. But when you get older, I don't think you'll be falling in the middle. So... I mean,
but I feel like once you get older, I'd rather just be respected. I don't want to be the life of the party when I'm older. Like,
you just want respect? Is that what you're saying?
I definitely, for me, yes.
Okay. That was so Generation Z to answer. That was so Generation Z.
I'm sorry. I learned this
Money,
quote
power,
from T.I.
respect.
I heard this quote from T.I. He said, I don't know what y'all would do for your respect, but I'll die for mine. And that stuck with me. And maybe because I'm from Atlanta and, that's T.I. But when he said it was like, as a woman especially, you want to be respected, like, especially women get degraded all the time. So, like, y'all keep telling me I'm so pretty and pretty. And
first of all, I didn't say that, so
Ricardo's on the record for never saying that she was pretty. He's on the record.
Yeah, I want that to be said.
He didn't say it maybe today, but he said it last week.
What did I say exactly?
I never heard it.
I didn't either. So what did I say exactly?
You definitely said it in the conference room. We had a meeting, guys. I'm putting it all on air right now. I'm telling everybody.
That's fine, but I just want to point out that 2 of my degrees are in law. So go for it, sis. Go for it.
You know what? I can't even win that argument. I can't.
They say if it's not in writing, it didn't happen.
Look, it didn't happen. Okay, well.
What I alluded to was about Instagram. We were talking about Instagram. Okay, so out of all 4 of us, take a guess. Who has the most popping Instagram? Even so much to the point that she can sit on her bed and talk about she's so bored and flip her hair. I swear that thing went on for an hour. I watched it because I was waiting to see what she was going to say. I didn't watch it because I think she's pretty. I watched it because I want to see what she's going to say, which I do everybody else. But her social media is the most popping because she's 22. And she literally sat on her bed and said, I'm just bored. And actually, there was one the night before that you had your
Wait.
sister or cousin with. It, I'm telling you, the Chronicles of Terry are mind-boggling.
So she was like a modern day soldier boy, just telling what she did, just hop about the bed,
Turn my
put my
swag
swag on, and get all kinds of likes.
And look, and you know what? It's their charisma combined with the fact that she is a pretty girl that makes
Yeah, he
it.
finally said it. He finally said it
I-
on air.
only-
We caught it.
Only, only because it serves where I'm going. Rude. It serves where I'm going. But that again, you're talking about leadership,
Right.
and in this genre of that was not the word I was looking for, but I'll let it ride. That's kind of where the factors come in. Now, granted, in the guys, I can say the guys because we're all older than Terry. In our generation, looks played a part, but it wasn't like 90%. Actually, that's really high. It wasn't 75% of what people expect from you when you walk through a door. Now, the way you look can almost trump what comes out of your mouth, which can put.
So how did Donald Trump get in office?
It wasn't his
Hold
looks,
up.
baby.
Was it his looks, Ricardo? Was it his looks?
We're gonna go out of
Ain't
that
about
one.
the money, it's about the power.
Did his hair do it for him? Did his hair do it for him?
Actually, when we talked about power, we talked about coercive power.
Okay.
I'm going to throw in a new one, financial power.
Oh,
when
yes.
you have
Hold
the
up.
means
Yes.
That makes
to
you look
make
real
or break,
good. That
which
makes you look
actually
real
stays on the same playing field that we were talking about military in ranks. Now we're talking about finances. All those things can coerce people to do what you want them to do.
True.
Now, when we get into, I hate to stay in this vein, but since you went there, when we get into the election process and we get into how President Trump got into office, you start getting into other dynamics.
Yeah.
Because then you start getting into the power that people didn't have to coerce people to do what should have been done. So you start getting into looking into, I hate to start calling folks out, but you start looking into, especially when it came to the African American vote, because actually when you look at the numbers, and I'm throwing this out there vaguely because I can't support this because I didn't research it, but I think that African Americans voted for him in a wide margin. And if it wasn't a wide one, it was a lot wider than people expected because everybody thought, and including the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, apparently thought that it was going to be an automatic draw for Hillary. Well, it wasn't. So, that was one. And then you start getting into, and I'm not going to call people sheep because by nature we aren't. But in this regard, I felt like people were sheep. People felt like they knew who Donald Trump was because they'd watched him on TV, they watched The Apprentice, and oftentimes we get into charisma. And people felt like, oh, I loved him on The Apprentice, and he was firing folks, and it was just so much fun. He can do that in the White House. People can be fickle like
Ronald
that.
Reagan.
People can be fickle like that.
Actors
So I felt like
Some folks was like, man, hey, he can fight too. Did y'all see him on WWE?
Well, I just have one question.
Seriously, Chris.
I just got one question. I'm not gonna ask who, but did y'all vote? Y'all did vote, right?
I did.
Did you vote? Chris, you over here looking like
Absolutely.
I'm about to say, you going to put people on blast? Now, look, we're not going to start lying on this show. So
Yeah.
you didn't
all
vote.
that.
You didn't vote.
I need to know right now if you voted.
But,
You sure?
but we're not going to say who we voted for.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah, of course not,
Come
of course not. I said that first. I don't
I
want to know
I
who.
did not hear
I
it.
ain't gonna say
Yeah.
nothing.
Hear it.
Absolutely.
Okay, I just had to make sure. Y'all go continue. Y'all
Hey,
continue.
if you don't vote, you don't count.
Okay.
And
You should do
I'm gonna admit it too. I mean, I know a lot of black people, including myself, that was actually for him at first. Cause we was like, yeah, I'm tired of politicians too. I'm tired of people getting
Right,
paid.
right.
I'm tired of them.
That's true.
Cause I mean, if they walked around with all the sponsors to sway what they do,
Right.
they'll look like a NASCAR.
What?
I mean,
What?
What?
well, hold on.
This is the first time I'm with Terry. What?
Okay.
That went right over
Okay,
my head.
Yeah, I didn't catch
all
that
the
one either.
people, all the lobbyists that come up and they say, hey, we want this, we want that. If you had a sticker for every one of those sponsors, they would look like a car that runs around a NASCAR track with all the sponsors and the logos.
All right,
and
so
all
press
that
pause
type
on
of
that.
stuff. So
On the show, I've always had a rule. If you use a term that people are not going to understand what that is, you have to explain it. So you're going to have to explain what a lobbyist is. I know what it
Okay.
is from being in politics, but
Okay.
everybody may not know what a lobbyist is.
okay, so
And simplify it. Just simplify it.
yeah,
Are
okay,
they people
okay.
that just hang out in
simplify.
lobbies of hotels?
See, and this is why you have to explain it.
Inform me, Chris.
No, Wyatt, that is not what that
Well,
means.
it sounds like it.
This is why he has to explain it. So,
Okay,
Sure.
so a lobbyist, in essence, is somebody. Just say like Terry is a politician, and if I come up to Terry and say, "Hey, Terry, you know, there's a law out that's keeping me from doing what I want to do. So what I want you to do is I want you to see if you can get that, you know, repeal for me. Is that okay? All right, cool."
Okay.
And then, you know, she'd say, "Oh, sure, yeah, I take care of you just like that. Stick the money in her
okay,
pocket."
so
That's basic.
That's
It's
basic.
more complicated than that.
A
but-
lobbyist is someone who's been retained to represent the best interests of a company or organization. Their whole
Yeah.
job is to stay in D.C. and lobby to have conversations that the company may not have time to do. That's in essence what a lobbyist is. They lobby for the interests of a company or organization.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me ask the question because I think I kind of got it, but I kind of had an idea of it, but I don't know if that's right or not. Like basically, like okay, it's like paying somebody to do your dirty work to have the conversations to get the business deal made. That's what
Yeah.
you're saying?
I'll go with that.
Something
I'll
like
buy
that,
that.
yeah.
I'll buy that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I had got out of it.
That's what
Just
you get
making
out
sure.
of it, Terry.
Yeah.
All right,
think-
Terry.
I have to think.
I,
for this-
he gave more of a definition. I was just
Yeah.
telling like
well,
what they actually.
well, you have to be
did,
careful with
like-
that definition because lobbyists are not only limited to big name companies,
True.
tobacco companies,
True.
stuff like that. There are actually green leaf companies who
Grassroots,
have lobbyists.
grassroots.
Who have lobbyists who
Right.
are there to
That's true.
talk about solar power
Yeah, yeah.
legislation. So it's not limited to just big business and companies like that. There are other types of energy
Yeah.
companies. There are energy organizations, flowery type organizations that have lobbyists too. Because
And
you'll
on
be
that
amazed.
subject- Oh, go ahead.
I'm about to say
Pardon.
people forget
Yeah.
that even nonprofits bring in money. Because
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
Habitat for Humanity, is it Habitat for Humanity? Don't quote me, but I think they're the ones that have brought in like $1 million, and that's only from donors. That's not taking money from any kind of companies, any kind of organizations, and they're a nonprofit.
The NFL used to be one until a few years ago.
Used to
they
be,
have-
used to be what? Used to be what, Chris?
A nonprofit.
A non-profit.
You sure is it the NFL as a whole or
No,
actually
No.
the parts?
I don't think they
Not
are.
for
They are
profit?
now, but at some point they were labeled as like a nonprofit.
Okay, so for all
Wow.
our listeners, I need y'all
I
to do
didn't
y'all
know that.
research because everybody's on here saying, I think. I need y'all to tell me what's going on. NFL is because I just never knew that. Like, I've never heard that before, so I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
don't
it
think
was
it's
a
a
little
far-
known fact, but I mean.
Well, Chris, you got
but,
your
I mean-
computer right there, so look it up. I mean,
you know what?
you can look it up. All right, but since we're on sports, over the weekend, because we can go ahead and segue into one of the topics, over the weekend, apparently the Supreme Court struck down a ban on sports betting on college and professional sports. So the justices voted 7-2, 7 being in the favor, that a 25-year federal law prohibiting sports being betted outside of Nevada was unconstitutional. So it kind of sets the stage for states to expand legalized gambling as a source of income. So what does that mean in theory? That means that now in New Jersey, because this happened in New Jersey, they're going to make it legal for people to actually bet on NFL type sports and college football. So that's kind of a big deal because it was prohibited, so you couldn't legally bet on a game.
Right.
Now in New Jersey, they're going to make it legal that you can actually legally bet on a game. So Terry, because you're the youngest, so off the rip, what do you think that means for people in the state?
It says it means what you said, like betting on the game. So,
Wait, what was your major in college?
I'm a journalist, mass comm, mass
Okay, well, that ain't gonna
communication.
bother you. I thought you were gonna say business because I was gonna get you if it was business.
Oh, of course not.
All right, so for those people who are in business, what that means is now you have to set up an infrastructure to accommodate this betting system because it can't be as simple as somebody going to a bookie and
Right.
saying, "Oh, I want to bet $20 on." I don't know anything about sports, so I'm not even going to attempt to do that. But I just want to put $20 on blah blah blah. It has to be more structured than that because you're not now. You're talking about a state ran
Right.
legalized gambling system that has to be set in place. So.
Okay, so is this going to be taking place at the games? Like, how is this going to work?
They get to decide that kind of stuff. So they get to decide, are they going to set up an institution that will take the bets? Because, and this is where people forget when you start talking about having these kinds of conversations where stuff that was illegal becomes legal. even if we were to have this discussion about marijuana,
Right.
okay, well, now the government has to set up a system where they're taxing it. So that's a whole new house that has to be created to house the money that's going to start flowing in from, we'll say both of them because they're on the same playing field for both of them. So it's the same thing with this. So now there has to be a house that has to be created that can house how these bets are going to come off,
Right.
policies and procedures that have to be created that says this type of betting is legal, this type of betting is not legal. It's a whole thing that people don't think about. People just say, oh, well, this legalized, it'll be easy. No, when you start making it a state thing or a federal thing, this stuff has to be accounted for. So now on the good side, that's good because now you have to create an institution, which is putting people to work to build it because they're probably going to want to build it because it may come with money.
So
they
giving
may
people
want to
more
build
jobs.
it. Exactly. So now you're creating jobs on the physical side because they may want to build infrastructure, which is good for construction companies. You also going to have to create policies and procedures, which is good for people who do that kind of stuff because now you have to hire them to create these policies and procedures. Then you start getting on the operations side. So now you have to create people who can enforce these policies and procedures. So in that regard, it's good. On the bad side, which is where the opposers come in and say, well, the law that was initially created, which was created by PAPSA, which is the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, was created in 1992 and signed by George W.H. Bush and became effective in January 1993. They created that law because they want to preserve the integrity of the sport. So the question becomes, now that people can bet on it in New Jersey, do you think that minimizes the integrity of the sport?
Well, Sports Illustrated also covered that Supreme Court ruling, and they said that New Jersey was rejected for this in 2016. They said currently Nevada was or is the only state to allow single game betting, and that the Players Union is concerned about fixing the games and point shaving. So when you put money on, if it's coming out of Nevada and it's going into other states, the Players Union wants to talk about this because it can start leading to people, money's on it, it turns into that Pete Rose thing where, you're playing a game and you also got money on it and stuff like that. It can change the whole dynamic. So there's a plus side on the economic side, but then it can also lead to some ethics issues.
So shift it this way. Think about the way that we think about boxing matches. And you start betting on, let's say, Floyd Mayweather and somebody else. That was luck. I do not know sports. That was
good job, Ricardo. Good job.
Kudos to me. Gold star for Ricardo. Because I don't know nothing about sports. So gold star for me. I know nothing about sports.
Nice.
But think about the way that people bet on boxing matches. You see it all the time. And, it's been a thing where people are like, oh, well, if Floyd is paid so much money, he's going to throw the match, or the other person's going to throw the match. Now, translate that into sports, where people, and think about it. With the football, you get into things like the Super Bowl and things of that magnitude that affect so many people, from artists down to just individuals. Do you really want them to be placing bets to the point where people start, like you said, shaving stuff and the integrity of the game? And by integrity, they're talking about the sport itself. So, like you said, the people, that was a very good example. People, throwing the game or shaving points, so now they're bribing referees. How do we feel?
Well, realistically, my first approach, of course, would have been, guys, be positive, don't think like that. But that's just wrong because realistically, that's not what's going on in the world. So, I just think that if it's going to create opportunities for people, like economically, because then that's a good thing. But at the same time, it's just like gambling is already illegal. Like, people are not supposed to be doing that kind of stuff. Like, no, it can just make things worse than what it already is. That's what my opinion. I don't know too much about sports and I don't know too much about gambling, but from my opinion, I just wouldn't know.
So you was just cheerleading,
I'm
not
not
paying attention.
I pay attention. I was paying attention.
Oh, Chris, Chris.
That was.
I know simple things.
Now,
okay?
no.
I know you know basic
No, if
stuff.
that was me, you'd have come after me.
No,
that was
because
me.
that hurt my feelings. But we're gonna handle him.
Oh,
no worries.
I'm
We're gonna handle
sorry.
him.
Well, Chris, because you hurt her
Still
feelings,
my
you're
friend.
fired.
Yeah,
Fired.
Yeah.
Your
see?
first day out, you're
See,
fired.
that Donald Trump reference was good today,
And I'm
right?
gonna swoop my hair to the side, and you're fired.
Uh-oh.
You see, that's what we were just talking about, being likable.
Yeah.
That's why I'm being
Likability.
right now.
See what I mean?
All right, so let me, I'm the practical person. So, all right, so let's look at it this way. Because, again, when we have these kind of conversations, the goal is to show the listeners how this trickled down to you.
Okay.
All right, so we get into a position where, let's say other states start doing it. and you start seeing little stuff. Think about the long term, because what ultimately happens is money starts shaping how things are done.
Right.
So then you start getting into the way the players are selected, the looks of the players. Then you start getting into cheerleaders. What the cheerleaders look like? Like this down the road, money starts shaping how things are done. Whereas now it's based off skill. In theory, it's based off skill and projections and all that good stuff. When money gets involved, all that could change. So I said, then you start getting into what may or may not be discriminatory, because then you start getting a class of people, because you're gonna want to keep this money flowing. So in order to keep that money flowing, what do we have to do? What filters do we have to start putting in place to keep this money flowing? And if they decide, hey, we only want to hire because 6-foot players who are 240 something are the ones that are keeping this money flowing,
Right.
that becomes the criteria. So what about all the other people that are not 6 foot and 240 something, that are actually skilled at this art?
No more Spud Webbs for the NBA.
Could be,
saying.
Chris. Could be.
So I mean, in the short term, yeah, it may create jobs and it may generate income, but in the long term, and this is where they were talking about the integrity. In the long term, because remember, the definition of integrity, and I'm going to shorten it and abridge it, the definition of integrity is pretty much what you do when others are not watching or when other variables are not into play.
Okay.
So if, now there's money on the table, is that integrity going to go out the window?
Well, this also brings in the fact of the NCAA players. They've been pushing. It was just an article out where a parent went publicly making a big public statement about how the NCAA is like ripping off the athletes like slavery, and like saying it's almost like a plantation situation. That's what the mother said. Now, this was in a big article, and saying that the players need to get compensated. Now, if they're going to have these bets going on and all this stuff going on in different states, this brings their topic back up to saying, hey, look at all this money going on. My child is like on your ESPNs and your Fox Sports every night of the week. Your school is now got these big TV deals, and all he has is books and tuition. Are you kidding me? That's why sometimes they're doing some little things that happen on the side, and all of a sudden they say, oh, your eligibility because somebody slid you $50,000. But they're saying the parent was pushing for getting that addressed also. So this ruling could also lead to that coming up on the table also, of paying these so-called amateur players that are doing things bigger. Some college performances are better than the pro performances. In some towns who don't have professional teams, those teams, like I'm going to give a case in point on like Penn State, the Nittany Lions and Happy Valley, they're sitting out there with nothing. So the people, and there's other programs like that big, that's their pro team. So when you're looking at it like that, and the people, I mean, the tailgating and the merchandising and the different thing, where there's millions and millions of dollars, but the athletes just come and go, and when if you didn't get a degree, sometimes you're just out of it. That's where they're at now. So this subject here could really lead to a whole Pandora's box of everybody saying, hey, it's going to be a lot of money out there, and we want it.
But then that becomes a problem. So if it's kind of like the conversation that has been resurfaced about slavery. Was it a choice?
Okay, we're not going to even go
they,
there.
Is that
But
Okay.
but when you look at it, it's the same paradigm, because the athletes are the ones making all the money for their owners. Well, the owners don't necessarily look like you, but you're still doing it. Is that a choice?
I mean,
It's not a choice
because
they're getting paid for that.
Yeah, well, they're
Yeah, but
getting
is that
getting paid educationally, and I mean, like the players that go and they only spend a year in college and then they go pro, like that's on them. Because I mean, you can easily go to the Euro League and get drafted from there, or you can go to the Olympics or something. But I mean,
Yeah,
at
but
the
to
same
your
time,
point though, look at it this way: if the players are making, I'm just throwing a number out there, $7 million, but the owner has brought in $1 billion,
Okay.
is that still fair?
Yeah, because I'm the owner. That's like saying, hey, I'm the CEO. You should be making the same amount of money as me. No, that's not how it works. I feel like you take that choice when you want to be an athlete, okay? You get what I'm saying? Because nobody's forcing you to do that. That is not the same.
True
You cannot
that.
compare that to slavery. Somebody's actually forcing you and telling you what you have to do. Now, they may tell you what you have to do as far as like
Agreed.
practice and that may go, but no, like that's not the same. It's not on the same level at all. Period. No.
Well, let me present it this way though.
Okay.
All right. So, because like I said, I'm just playing devil advocate. I'm not giving an opinion. Actually,
Okay.
actually, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation about, what paradigms of thought do people have when the have versus the have-nots. So stick around with the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. Hey, everybody, it's Ricardo D. Rice from the Leadership Blend, where we're simplifying your leadership.
I can say that you're wonderful, but it doesn't seem good enough. I can say that you're kind, but that would miss the mark. I can say that you're beautiful, but to me you are so much more. How do I communicate exactly who you are? I'm trying to convey the sentiment of my heart and say I really do appreciate the way you brighten up my day. I can't find the words to describe you. It would take a million years to explain the way I feel. You are the epitome. You are the epitome of everything I'll ever need. I'm so in awe of you. Lord, you leave me speechless. Now if I had more time, I would go down the line and name all the things that captivate my heart. But clearly I'm not aware of words that can compare. How do I communicate exactly who you are? I'm trying to convey the sentiments of my heart and say I Searching here and there for someone to care. Feeling so all alone, but his love did not come to an end. In my weakness, your grace was greater than my sin. Over and over. The moment came and went. I was feeling discontent. Where was I supposed to go? Then you came along, making right what once was wrong. Your love never failed, and now I know. Your love.
You may think that it's over, that your life is done. Oh my. It's yet to come. Don't sweat the challenge. Your battle's already won. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's yet to come. Listen, y'all. See, God writes the end before the story began. Oh, he told me to tell you the best. It's yet to come. As the author of your faith, he wrote it provision for you to win. You're a winner, you're a winner, you're a winner. You ain't seen your best days yet. You ain't seen your best days yet. I don't care what people told you. You ain't seen no You ain't seen your best days. Oh, well, my. You ain't seen your best days yet. Stay in the faith, my sister. You ain't seen your best days yet. Stay in the word, my brother, my brother, my brother, my brother. You ain't seen your best days. Trust in no one. Would you deposit this word in your heart? You ain't seen your best days yet. No, it's not too late for you to start. You ain't seen your best days. I want to encourage you. I just want to encourage you. You ain't seen your best days yet. You ain't seen your best days yet. Get away from negative words. Get away from negative people. Hear God speak to you. The best. Do you hear me? Oh, you're gonna run and not be weary. You're gonna walk and not faint. Oh, the best is on the way. I see you, eagle. I see you flying high. Ooh, you ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing. I know you may think that you have. But God told me to tell you, you gotta keep on fighting. Keep on praying. You ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen your best days yet. It's greater. It's stronger. It's gonna come. Thank you, Jesus. It's yet. Greater is the ending of a thing than its beginning. I know, yeah. It's yet to come.
All right, everybody, we are back on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and my co-hosts, Chris Marshall, Terry House, and Christopher White. Now, when we left to go on break, we were having the discussion about the NFL and what happened, but we're going to table that because we only have about 20 minutes, so I do want to have some fun. So right now, we're going to segue to, and I say this sparingly, the lovely Miss Terry House for Terry's Corner.
Hey.
So take it away, boss.
Okay, y'all, it's
Yeah,
now
Terry.
time for Terry's Corner because that means it's time for the young and the fun, you know. Get
Okay,
the
that-
groove
you're pushing it.
ready.
You can be fired too.
Okay,
I can fire you.
okay.
Come on, not on your
But
face.
no, listen. Okay, so right now, you guys, I'm on this fitness journey where I am trying to get fit and do not make any comments because a lot of people feel like when you're petite that you don't have anything that you want to work on, and that's not true. Ricardo, can you fix your face, please? Look a little bit happy. Thanks. But
Every week is fixing our faces.
Yes,
huh?
'cause
I need to
guys
assert
be
my
excited.
rank. I need to assert my
How about
rank
this?
in here.
Is this better?
You can just come for me off the cuff. You just come for me.
But okay, so I want to I want to challenge all the listeners because, like I said, when we were talking about leadership, I did say that for me, somebody has to challenge me. So I want to challenge you all. Maybe we can do it together and our listeners to do this 30-day fitness challenge where you just we're actually going to work out every day this week. Pick a day where you want to do legs, pick a day when muscles, tone, abs, and go from there. But also one of the things that I wanted to talk about too was we talked about this, and Ricardo's told me that's not a word, but I'm going to tell you guys because we're on Facebook Live now. And being amongst the group, we all already established that I'm the youngest. And I feel like being around you guys, I have this more like Clatchet vibe, a little bit classy, sometimes ratchet, and somewhere in the middle.
Oh, that's that balance you was talking
Yes,
about earlier. I remember
balance,
that.
It's garbage. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
straight
I
garbage. You
believe-
made that up today, and you're using it. But you know what? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. So what is it again?
It's Clatchet. It's like you got to be
Clatchet.
classy and ratchet. Like I feel like I'm one of those girls that you can take anywhere.
It sounds
you
catchy.
You can take
it does
them.
sound catchy.
Wait,
though.
You can take me to your mom's house. You could probably take me to a football game. Get like all kinds of stuff. You take me to a museum. I can hang with the best of them.
I
So,
would take you to a museum. But that's just saying.
okay, you know what? We're gonna leave Ricardo out of Terry's corner because he's
Okay, you do realize that you have a couple minutes because then it's Chris' turn. So
Okay, that's it. That's all I have for you guys. We're gonna do this fitness
I
challenge.
thought you
So,
were doing the post-graduation thing.
well, I do want to do that.
Oh,
You
go
guys
ahead.
want to go ahead to it? Okay. Well, as you guys know, again, that I am just recently graduated from Savannah State University.
Kudos.
Hey.
Hey, congratulations.
And being at home. Oh my God, you guys! Yesterday was Mother's Day, so happy belated Mother's Day to all of them.
Happy belated.
Can you say happy belated
to
Mother's Day?
all those great mothers
you
out
can.
there?
I mean, you can say whatever
Just
you want.
happy
How it's
Mother's
gonna
Day.
go over.
I mean, it
That's
is
the
late.
question.
Well, it's
Happy
kinda
Mother's
late.
Day every day.
Happy Mother's Day every day.
Pandria Rice.
Every
Happy
day.
Mother's Day to my mother, Pandria Rice.
Well, happy Mother's Day to my mom, Shan White.
And happy Mother's Day to all of my moms, the adopted ones and my.
Oh no, I'm
blood
not doing. I
mom.
made that mistake last year. I'm not doing that again. I'm only shouting at my real mom because she had a fit about that last year. So she does not want to share this
Gotcha.
space with anybody. So yeah,
My
we're
mama
not
don't
doing
like
that.
to share either.
Yeah, we're
but
not doing that.
being back at home with my mom is kind of letting me. Reality is starting to sink in. Like, okay, I'm really done with college now. I'm it's starting back over, and yesterday just being back home, it kind of made me be like, okay, this postgraduate depression thing can really get real. And I just want to tell anybody who's in the stage or who's in that phase in their life that stay positive. Stay positive. Work on anything that's helping perfect your craft. Like, do something that makes you better, and stay motivated by actually, like, doing, they have alumni networks. Just look in your research and keep going. Whatever you do, stay positive and keep going because that little depression, like, every now and then I catch myself in this, like, little mood because I'm like, I'm not where I want to be. And it's like, I know if I'm feeling like that, who can tell you, who else may be feeling like that. So, main goal is, you guys, keep going, keep striving for greatness, and just keep your goals, That's all I got for you.
And remember, again, because I've done all this, remember, career services, it's not just a term. You want to have a sit down with them because career services, in most colleges, they go over your resume. They help you go ahead and ship your resume out before you graduate so that when this day comes, the real world doesn't go bam. It's like, okay, I've been in career services.
True.
I got some prospects. Terry did very well. She ended up here, so she's in her field.
I'm
she did very well.
Honey.
She ended up in her field.
Absolutely.
So, kudos to Terry for
She's
graduating
focused.
and all that good
She's
stuff.
Focused.
And hopefully this will lead her to some other stuff.
Well, thanks, guys.
All right, so Chris.
All right. Well, before I start my segment, I usually start out with some shenanigans. So right now I'm gonna just give a shout out. I want to give a shout out.
It better not be to like the squirrel in the park or something. I'm just saying.
No.
One of those types, I was
It's
shouting at the
something
squirrel in the park that I
much
saw
more
this morning.
personal to me. Much more personal.
Uh-oh.
I want to give out a shout out to my dog, simply because.
That's the equivalent of a squirrel.
You're a dog.
Yeah. See, well, I'm gonna tell you why.
A four-legged
this
animal.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you why. This dude, he eats the same thing every day and never complains. Can you believe that? My hats is off to him. I don't know too many people that do that.
You mean he don't eat
Anyway,
up your slippers or nothing?
No, nothing.
Take out his frustration?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Okay, then he's a cool dog.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, are we talking about D-O-G or are we talking about D-O-G-G? Like one of your homeboys, one of your dogs. Like, okay, fine.
That's D-A-W-G.
You
like,
always got something new.
dog. Yeah. Right.
What?
Like, that's my dog. You know,
Spell that again.
That's my dog for sure. Ooh, you know, come on.
Well,
Come on.
Okay, first of all, let me say
Well,
this.
he's a Shih Tzu, so.
Let me say this to Terry, because you to my song, clash it. Yeah.
I'm trying to get you guys on the lingo. You guys.
Because I believe you can get ratchet real quick. Because I just like that fast, you made it into a Migos song. That turned into a Migos song just that quick. But, you know, I digress. Finish, Chris. I digress.
All right.
So is your dog sort of like Snoop Dogg? Like he's laid back and he done had his...
I mean, he's laid back till the doorbell rings. That's about it.
I mean,
till the doorbell rings.
How would you expect him to complain? He can't talk. So how is he going to complain? That was my question.
He can bark. Bark and growl, yeah.
That's what dogs do.
Yeah, exactly.
OMG.
You know what?
You know what? Fine. You know what? Okay. I'll just give the other shout out then. Big shout out to all the midgets listening who have nobody to look up to. So here's my segment. All right.
You are fired.
They have nobody.
All right, look. I get a call from the little people of Atlanta. Oh my God, you are in so much trouble.
Oh man, look, I have a lot of love for them.
Different size midgets.
My sister's
wrong there.
Size. I'm sorry, Shawnee.
My niece is a midget. All right,
they're not midgets. They're little.
And you said they have no one to look up to. They have a lot of people to look up to.
Okay, that is not good leadership. No, that's not good leadership.
I just want to say I do not co-sign on that.
Okay, so this segment is called Alternate Facts or Not. So in Parrish, Alabama, a stinking truckload of human waste from New York City got stranded in Parrish, Alabama, and is spreading stench, like a giant backed up toilet. And the residents don't like it. It's been parked there for like 2 or 3 months. They call it a poop train. Is that truth or not?
I don't even know.
Alternative facts?
I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that true?
All right, so to the listeners, the objective is to tell whether the story that he tells, is it true or false?
A poop train?
I say it's true.
You say in Paris, Alabama?
So ridiculous that it's
true. I never even heard of Paris, Alabama, so I'm going to go with that's false. I never heard of it.
Because you haven't heard doesn't mean it's not true.
I mean, poop train? That doesn't sound
right. I mean, it's literally a train full of human waste that came from New York City, and they parked it in Alabama.
I believe it's
and
true.
They just left it.
It sounds so ridiculous, and then it's out there probably in the boonies
somewhere.
Yeah. It sounds like...
It's actually near a children's baseball field.
Okay, so that means it's true then. And it sounds like it's boy.
But then the question becomes, why are we hauling toxic waste from one city to another city, or one state to another state? That's the question.
I don't know.
That's where I have to...
Well...
All right, so all those that say yes, raise your hand. I think it might be true. All those that say they don't think it's true, raise your hand. All right, so the yes was me and Wyatt. The no is Terry. So is
on
it true
Facebook,
or false?
they're saying no.
It is true.
One for us.
Ew, that's
so
nasty.
Yes, I just want to say to Terry, just because you don't know it does not mean it's not true.
Okay.
Something smells with that story, though.
Lord. See,
somebody need to investigate that.
Now we're going to start the Coney train. Okay.
Hey, you know what, Wyatt? I see what you did there. So, all right. So here's the last story. 2 sibling sisters, they got into an altercation on Mother's Day weekend over Mother's Day gifts for their mother. Apparently, one girl, she got upset because the younger sister broke what they called the monetary agreement. Unfortunately, they got into a fist fight. Now, here's where it got strange. The younger sister filed charges, even though she said she hit first, right? And she claimed in a police report that her older sister hit her so hard that it ruptured her hymen. In other words, she lost her virginity by way of knockout. Alternative facts or no?
Okay, that's wrong.
You know what?
Terry, that's your area. So what do you think?
I'm going to say
or not?
no.
Well, I think for the most part, I would think that's true because I have an aunt and a mom, and they're like, you ain't getting game.
I mean, that's a
now
great
the last
punch.
part is that's just what she said in the police report. That hasn't been confirmed. But that's what she said. That's what she's claiming.
So are we saying that this actual story happened like that? You know,
yeah,
sister knocked her out. And,
the story.
And the loss of virginity.
well, I think that you can do that. Well, people, say you can ride a bike and. Okay, I don't want to talk about that. Why would
That
wanna
is
talk about
actually
that.
true. If you ride a bike and you hit yourself a certain
Yeah.
way, that can rupture.
So that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
maybe maybe you probably can get a little.
And the
Say,
story
I
didn't
don't
say
agree
where they hit
that
her
it's
with.
real news. I'm going with it's not.
You think it's not real news?
I'm going with
It's
it.
alternative facts.
All right, so how many yeses?
Listeners, Terry said it might be true. Okay, I'm gonna go with yes.
Wyatt?
I say no. I say you have to have Mike Tyson and his two cousins hitting you in your chin to make something happen all the way down there. So I'm going to disagree.
Well, I mean, now the story didn't say where she got hit at.
Well,
so,
but I think it's
Okay, Ricardo, what do you think?
The story is so preposterous, I don't even think I have an opinion. That's how preposterous I think that whole story is. I'm going to say, knowing Chris for what I think I know Chris, that's probably a no. So I'm going to say no.
Okay, can you please give me a yes one time?
it is alternative facts.
Yeah!
Hey,
Clearly, I suck at this game.
2 for 2, Ricardo.
I don't like this game. I don't like this game. I'm not good at it.
You'll get in on the next one.
No, I don't think she will, because everything has to make actual sense to Terry.
Oh, yeah.
And she has no imagination, clearly, because everything
And
seems to be
that's
outside of
okay.
her scope
And that's
of reality.
okay.
And I don't have a good sense of humor either. My friends tell me that all the time. Like,
I
things
mean,
that
the
they think
poop
is funny,
train,
I
that
don't.
was kind of unbelievable and believable. I got
That
you. I
sounded
feel you
like-
on that first one.
Thanks.
That
I got
literally
you on that
sounded
first
like something I would have made up.
You know,
so
yeah,
I
it kinda
had to
does.
throw it in
one. Yeah,
there.
poop train.
Poop
It
train?
kind of does.
Yeah.
That's
All right,
nice.
so in other news, actually, well, it's kind of alternate facts, but I can't give a definitive answer. So apparently, there has been talks of bringing back Phaedra Parks to the Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Okay, y'all. I love Real Housewives of Atlanta. Okay. So now we speaking my language.
I figured you would like that. So yeah, that's been. I can't confirm or deny. I just saw a story on it, and since we're in the world of preposterous ideologies, I will park it there and let Terry take the lead on that.
Okay, well, I honestly think. Well, can I just give my opinion first?
Knock yourself out.
Okay, I don't think that she deserves to come back though, because like that platform itself is just kind of too big, and what she did not last season, but the season that she was on, it was just too much. Like, do you guys know what's going on?
Fill everybody
not-
in.
Okay, I tell you.
Yeah,
I tell
Not
you, I
too
tell you,
much
I tell
on
you.
Phaedra.
I tell you, no words. Okay, so
Okay.
basically it was from what I remember. Okay, so from what I remember, basically like her and not Kenya, what's the other girl? Portia.
Portia.
They were just basically like putting out different lies about Candy and just really trying to like ruin her brand. And I just think that, and the lies were about like sexual. I don't want to say like sexual assault or something like. They were saying like Candy was trying to like rape and drug Portia. And I just think
Okay,
if
for a
she's a
Housewives
lawyer,
fan, you should be able to tell this story a little better than this.
I know,
don't-
okay, I
I'm
can't
not a
remember it
vivid
that
fan, but at
much.
least I remember. Okay, so what happened was,
okay.
it was Portia told Candy that Phaedra said that she attempted to drug her and drag her to a sex dungeon that's in Candy's basement.
Okay, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth. Too.
And apparently, Portia couldn't confirm or deny because apparently she felt like she was drugged, and Phaedra kept being insistent that it took place. So she rolled the lie all the way to the reunion, and that's when it came out that the whole season she had been defending a lie.
And she's a lawyer. Like, she's not supposed to be doing
So
that
it was
kind of
proven
stuff.
that it was a lie?
Yes.
Really
Phaedra
now.
told in the end, she was like, I lied to you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I
on
might
the
have to
reunion.
watch the Real Housewives in my spare time.
Like,
I just got Hulu too. Ooh,
No, you're not going to have no Hulu.
Oh no, no
No,
Hulu.
not the
oh,
current
okay,
season.
Okay.
yeah, no.
Not the current season.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So yeah, that's what happened. So I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back for Phaedra's storyline, because
So if you guys were in that kind of position, okay, so I know you guys don't watch the show, but do you think that she should be able to come back if she like made that
But-
big, huge
But
lie?
didn't Nene come back after leaving? I know this one's about, is it ethically right, but isn't it entertainment? Isn't it that if they come back, the more drama that happens, the more people are tuned in. So
all right,
I would say bring her back because she's going to make a
let
clash.
me package this differently because again, this is leadership. This is still leadership. So let me package this differently.
Okay.
Now, yes, they are on a huge platform because I think Atlanta is the most popular brand of the Housewives franchise.
Yes.
So when the statement like that is made by a lawyer and made by a personality, because Portia is on Ricky Smiley's show, but it's not called that. It's called something else. Dish Nation. She's on Dish Nation. So when you put a lawyer and somebody, a personality on Dish Nation, and they make a statement like that, which technically, and Phaedra knows this, is defamation of character or slander against a brand like Candy Burris, because she has Candy coded, she has her name, she has her songwriting. When you put that against her brand and make a malicious statement like that, that could have ruined her brand, which was her fighting. So that was her thing. She was like, you could have ruined my brand, which is a viable lawsuit because that is defamation of character or slander. Because in order to prove defamation of character or slander, you have to be able to show that you took a hit from the comments or the gestures that were made by an opposing person to what you're doing. So technically, it's kind of hard to prove because you really have to pull out numbers and say, really, hey, I was banking $20 million, and after these statements were made, I went down to $4 million. That's cute. But then you have, on the other side, when you get into court, you have to be able to prove, okay, well, was that not accredited to a downturn in the economy? Was that not accredited to you shifting leadership? You have to be able to prove that these specific variables are what made your numbers go from 20 million to 4 million. Is it impossible? No. Is it likely to win? So
I've never heard that laugh from you before.
Let that be a lesson.
Sinister.
You just got a lesson in law when it comes to proving defamation of character or slander, because they're kind of housed under the same ideology. But you have to be able to prove to a jury of your peers or a sitting judge that your organization took a hit as a direct result of the actions of someone else.
Right.
So,
Carter, you want me to tell you something that
no.
I'm telling you anyway. I know
know.
that's something that you
your
always
thing.
saying. You know, he would say, "That's cute." That's cute. You always say that. That's cute. Okay, so favorite word of the week is that's cute. I'm gonna say that all the time.
Yeah.
So, Terry,
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, dealing with what I said earlier,
Y'all got 3 minutes.
you still my friend?
Of course.
Okay.
No. First of all, that's not an apology. That's not an on-air apology.
That's not.
I said I was sorry earlier, though.
That's not an on-air apology because the
Okay.
statement was made on air.
Yeah, we gotta
So-
put the record. Put it down.
So, Terry Michelle, I would just like to apologize sincerely for playfully hurting your feelings.
You guys, this is gonna be a great
my
team.
goodness.
Like,
Where is the Kleenex? I mean,
I get.
And I just want you to
I'm about to
know.
wipe my eyes.
And
That-
because you hear that exit music, that means we're out of time today. So thanks to my co-host.
We can continue this off the air.
Everybody say your goodbyes really quickly.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks
Look
for
forward to
tuning
y'all
in.
on the next show.
IBNX Media.
Keep
IBNX
being great.
Radio.
Be excellent.
We'll see
Hey.
you guys on next Monday, same time,
See
same
y'all
place.
later.
Leadership.